You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Skullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are checking the episodes out. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and joined with me is my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
We've made it so far. Is it safe to say that 2017 is not completely horrible just yet?
I would say 2017 is starting out pretty good. I mean, we got some good stuff to talk about today. Of course, we're going to be talking about the Switch. The Switch debuted just a couple of days ago. And I've been wanting to make a video on it, but I've just been so busy. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a podcast on it. Because, James, I mean, we've touched base off and on before going on the show today. And we've talked a little bit about the Switch. And this gives us a chance to kind of discuss it. Now, James, what's your thoughts on the Switch right now?
Right now, you know, it's interesting. The thing, it's one of those words that's brought up in wrestling a lot. Polarizing. One of those terms sometimes people use to describe you've got a lot of good talk, a lot of bad talk. Some people love you, some people hate you. It's kind of like John Cena. You know, you're going to get those comparisons. The people out there, there's lots of opinions, strong, both ways. A lot of people are excited. A lot of people, not so much. You know, maybe there's a little bit floating in the middle that are kind of like, you know, I don't really care. But I think it's cool just to hear either way, you know, people being vocal and talking about it. You know, no matter what side you're on, most people seem to have an opinion one way or the other. And while at the moment I'm not, you know, I didn't pre-order one, but I've known people, my brother, for instance, who wasn't going to pre-order one. And then he was like, yeah, I got my pre-order. I got to say, I think it's one of the price points. And one thing, you know, as we go ahead and jump into it, we'll say is I hear a lot of people too that say, you know, oh, I see bundles of PS4 and the Xbones, you know, for, you know, $250 or, you know, $300. And it's kind of an unfair comparison because those systems have been out for a while. When they launched, you know, they launch at $500, $600. And you got Nintendo coming out the gate, $300, which I think is a really fair price, you know, for a brand new system that I think either way, no matter what happens, you're bound to get $300 worth out of. You know, I think you're going to get some great games, and it's a really good selling point. It's one I think that, you know, a little more people will be open, you know, to dropping that and giving it a chance than if it did come out. You know, if it came out at a $400, $500, you know, that'd be kind of brutal. But at this price point, I think it's very reasonable. Nintendo's been really good, you know, with the Wii U. What did the Wii U come out at initially? $350? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it came out around, I want to say it came out around like $300. Maybe it was $350.
It could be at the most $350, and which still, you know, to me is reasonable. Because when the other systems launch, $500, $600. I'm sorry, you know, like I got a pretty good job, but like that's just not happening for me. Like it's very hard to come out and drop. Like that's $500, $600 is a very large amount of money to me, no matter what, in any day or age. And I think Nintendo's coming in at a good price point to where at least people will be able to give it a chance, and more people will be able to get it. And it's still. No matter what end you're looking at it, like I said, it's exciting. The fact that, you know, people are talking about it one way or the other, whether it's love or hatred. It's cool either way. It is exciting.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that we finally got the information that we were looking for. I mean, they teased it, you know, throughout the whole year. In October, we finally got to see the thing in action. But that was it. Like, Nintendo showed it, and they were like, this is the Switch. We finally got the name. For the longest time, it was the NX. And we saw it, and it left us with a lot of questions for a couple of months. And My thing is like, it surprises me because some of the people that I expected that were not going to like the Switch, they surprised me because they went out and they pre-order it day one. You know, it was like, man, you know, they're not going to like the Switch. They're not going to like it. And then like they're telling me that I need to go out there and pre-order it, and I'm like, oh wow, you know, this is it's exciting. I have to admit that waiting till 11 o'clock at night when they were showing the direct, because the direct was being showed in Japan, and when I was, you know, waiting, and I was talking to some friends of mine, and all of us agreed that it felt like it was like a Super Bowl for gaming. Like we were counting it down. We were just, and even in the direct, they did the countdown before they showed the Switch, and it's exciting. And a lot of people haven't really mentioned this, but you know, this is technically the next step in the new gaming generation, because the Switch is the successor to the Wii U, so it is a 9th gen Nintendo console. That's crazy.
Many generations Nintendo has been around.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, by the time we're doing this podcast, everyone has talked about the Switch to death, about what the Switch is. You know, it is a hybrid home console. You're able to play it on your TV, then you can take it on the go. You know, they showcased the Joy-Cons in the sense that you can take these controllers off the tablet and you can share it with a friend, or you can use it for motion control games. Like one of the games that I thought was really interesting was a game called ARMS. Did you see that?
I don't think I saw that one. I still actually have not. I didn't get a chance to fully watch the Nintendo Direct. I planned on seeing it because the day it was coming out, I think I was off the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I fell asleep super early. The most I did manage to catch the next day when they had one of the Treehouse events going on, and I didn't know. I just happened to catch it. I was playing some Street Fighter V, and I was just flipping around and looked and checked on YouTube, and they had one of the Treehouse events going. So I was checking that out. So I got to see a look at a few of the games. The actual Direct, I didn't fully see yet.
Yeah, and the Direct was a lot of fun. I mean, it started out, I have to say that when the Direct first started, I was kind of nervous because the first thing they started showing was the Joy-Cons, and the Joy-Con and the games and the motion control. It felt very gimmicky. It felt like the Wii was coming back, you know, and I was, on a live chat with some friends when we were watching it, and my friend John, Gaming Through the Decades, a great YouTuber, he was like, dude, this is so much like the Wii. And it was like one of those moments that I was like, he's so right. This feels like the Wii all over again. I mean, not saying that I hated the Wii. I liked the Wii. I thought the Wii was a good console, but the problem is like, this was supposedly the console to bring Nintendo back, and I'm like, oh my god, Nintendo hasn't learned anything. But after they showed the Joy-Con and they went to the games, they started showing things that were very promising. Some of the games, just off the top of my head, of course, was a lot of JRPG love. Like they showed a new Xsgaming Tensei game coming out. They showed a new Fire Emblem coming out. They showed Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming out, or Xenoblade 2. It was really, really interesting, and people are still talking about it, man. Like, one of the things we want to get into that we could talk about is, of course, something that Nintendo has never done before that they're doing with the Switch is charging for online service. Now, what are your thoughts about that, James?
Man, yeah, that you do hear a lot of talk on that, and that's one of those ones that if, and Nintendo I think sometimes is never been known to be one of those ones with the, highest capabilities of online play. And I think if a little fee, I don't know how much, they haven't said like a price point or anything on that yet, have they?
No, not yet.
And knowing Nintendo, I really don't think it's going to be, a big amount. A lot of the ones, Microsoft has had it for a bit. Sony had finally kind of, jumped on. And it's one, if it's good enough and the price is there to where it's reasonable. And I'm hearing the things where you get you get a free game, and some people are like, oh, big whoopee, an extra game, and I'm not fully sure how that works exactly. I didn't fully get to look into that yet, but if there's a quality to it and it's good, it's kind of, I think, I don't know, to me it almost kind of seems to be like expected at a point, to where sometimes you get used to something where so many things are free, and then you get one half saying the video game community part of it is free, and then other areas outside of that, it costs. And it is something I see, to get something like that running good, working with quality, sometimes that takes some input as far as money goes. And as long as it works good and it's a reasonable price point, and like I said, maybe you get some freebies, like they throw in a game or something like that, it possibly could not be too bad, as long as, like I said, the game is stepped up, and it's pretty much in a sense where it's worth what you're paying, but it's still an amount where it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, some of the stuff they've talked about with online, and Nintendo really hasn't went too far down the rabbit hole with their online service. One thing they did mention was that it was going to integrate smartphones with their online service, which is really interesting. And when you were talking about the free games, there hasn't been a confirmation. We're going to be getting a free game every month, but rather if we can keep the game or not, or you get the game free that month and then you have to buy it, or you choose if you want to buy it. Now, one thing Nintendo is doing that I do like is the online service is going to be free until November 2017. So when it comes out in March, people can try out the online. If they enjoy the online, then they know what to expect when November comes. And I think this is kind of a testing ground for Nintendo to kind of work out some bugs. They're having their own trial service. I think they'll do a lot of patches, a lot of fixes. Nintendo has done that in the past. Think about the 3DS. When the 3DS first came out, it was way too much. It was not selling well. And what they did is they dropped the price down. And the people who purchased the 3DS got the Ambassador program. They got downloadable games onto their 3DS. Some games that still haven't been on the digital virtual console market since the Ambassador program. So you don't really hear, companies doing that too much. And I don't know about you, James, but I thought the PS3 online, the interface and the capability was very subpar compared to Xbox Live. But you look at PS4 with PSN Now, with the price cap and the PlayStation Plus, the way they do things, I feel like it's a more well-oiled machine, and some of that could be the funds of the consumer pushing that service,
Definitely. And like you said, I like the fact that, it is free up to a point. Maybe in some aspects, they can use that to reach out to the people, the ones that are using that, maybe see what's working, what's not. It gives the people a chance to see, is this worth it? Is it not? I see some people talking about things like the PlayStation Plus to, the people are sheep that buy into the PlayStation. I had PlayStation Plus on my PS3 for a while, and it went off. And at the end of the day, like, when I had it, like, I enjoyed it. Like, to me, it's like, okay, what free games do I get this month? Like, sometimes it's stuff you don't really care about. Sometimes it's a game you may have never given a chance to. Like, for me, Stories on PS4 was free. Wow. That's a game I think I probably talked about that last episode. Very kind of, Zelda-like game's the best way to describe it. Lots of replay value. You can go back through it. And it's a game I might not have tried if I didn't get it free for PS Plus. And after playing it, it's one I can tell friends that, like, yeah, I'm like, like if I'd spent $15 on that, like, I wouldn't have been mad. But I enjoy the discounts. I don't really see a problem, and if you're going in to get the full effects of an online service and you have to buy into a PS Plus, I think at the end of the day it's still very fair of even with me as someone who I want to get more into playing with friends online, but I haven't really done the most of that yet at all, really. But still, having PS Plus has, like I said, it's just fun to see like what's free. You never know what games are going to be discounted, and it's not like it's a huge amount. We're all spending more and more every day. I started thinking of all the, Netflix, the Hulu, WWE Network, the Amazon Prime. I had Shudder. I'm like, man, I gotta keep this in check, or I'm gonna be back right to where I was with a cable bill. But on the other chance, though, I will still, I'd say still, I think with all those different options, I would still be better off than paying a giant cable bill with all these different online services. I'm still hanging in, not including whatever I did, like a 3-month PS Plus, but I'm at about $35 or $40 as far as my like online movie and TV services now, which is still a great deal compared to like $100 cable bill.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they look at Nintendo and they hear about the online service and they suck their teeth and they're like, "Oh, this is terrible." I mean, I can remember a time when the Xbox 360, you had to pay for Xbox Live, and there were apps that were used on the 360 like Netflix and YouTube, services that either you already paid for or that were free to get from the get-go that you couldn't use unless you had Xbox Live. Now, of course, they changed that. This was like years ago. And that's the thing. The more feedback companies get, the more they kind of fixed online service. Now, I will say the one thing about Nintendo and their online is it does have to be fair to a degree that no matter how much Nintendo says they're not competing with the PS4 and the Xbox One, right now when they open up that web service, that online service, they are competing with PSN and Xbox Live. So we'll see how that goes. Around March and through the months, and like I said, keep your eyes open, guys, because they might have like Nintendo surveys. They might have some sort of survey to see how the service is going. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that, because I'm really thinking that they're having it free for a couple of months because they want to see how it goes. Like, use these early adopters of the Switch as guinea pigs to see how this new Xbox, not Xbox, but this new Nintendo online service works. I'm so not used to saying Nintendo and paid online that I was about to say Xbox, but
yeah, it's like I hope they can find a good, like I said, working with people trying it out and find a good medium. Nintendo does have that aura, and just with them always wanting to kind of stay family friendly with any kind of option of the online, where they have some type of chatting, like I said, the involvement with iPhone apps and such of almost like a censoring of it. I mean, some people in a sense are just horrible. I got a foul mouth like everybody else. I would hate to see them cut down on a bunch of people wanting to participate in this to try to kind of censor people in a sense. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Think of it as like a big trial period up until that pay point, and knowing Nintendo, I think it'll be a fair price, and that'll give them a good chance to get it all figured out by then, because anytime you step into a new territory, it's always good to test the waters first. And like I said, jumping into that competing market, with the other ones that are already established, it's that one thing. I don't know if this is true. I was listening to Pat Contry talking about it. I'd caught some of his review about it, and he had mentioned something about online play with the virtual console games.
Oh yeah.
Had you heard anything about that, or?
I've heard bits and pieces. One thing I do want to say is they did confirm that GameCube games will be on their virtual console, which I'm really excited about. So far, they confirmed 3 games. They confirmed Super Smash Bros. Melee, Luigi's Mansion, and Mario Sunshine. I think that's pretty awesome.
Because I know they had once again, the register had been renewed on Eternal Darkness, which had happened before. That was just a thought. It's like, the GameCube ones, it's totally time for that. To have a good library of those, more readily available. It'd just be cool. And I mean, like, with Virtual Console, like, if you could, I don't know, to me, like, it would just really be awesome. I know there's emulator programs, you can hook it up to do the stuff online, but just to be able to have something a little bit more easily set up, with a system, to be able to, like, Contra online, with somebody else across the country, it's just really awesome. If that actually ends up happening.
Yeah, totally. Now, we're going to take a quick break, because our little 30-minute was bleeding through, but we're still going to talk about some more Switch, guys, and we actually have some replies from the Xsgaming Podcast group page on Facebook, where I asked you guys, is the Switch going to be a day one buy? Did you guys pre-order? Are you guys waiting it out? Let's see what you guys had to say about that. So sit back, relax, guys. We're going to play some Super Mario 3D World theme music, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys, and that was some music from Super Mario 3D World that was released on the Wii U. We thought, with all this Nintendo talk, why not play some good old Mario music? And, I asked the Xsgaming Podcast group page, I asked you guys about the Switch. I asked if you pre-ordered it, if you're going to wait it out. What's your thoughts on this? And I got a lot of freaking replies. I'm trying to pull it all up on my phone. Had some people leave some pretty lengthy messages, because this is a pretty big topic. Let me see real quick. Let's see. And, I'll go ahead and say this right now. James, I know you mentioned it, and I'll go ahead and mention it. I'm waiting on the Switch. I have a lot of friends that pre-ordered it for day one, and I don't know. I don't think the price is bad. I just want to see exactly what's the troubleshooting,
Yeah, it's always good to be safe at the launch of any system where there's any bugs that need to be worked out. Sometimes if you wait a little bit, you can get a price cut. I mean, like we said with this Nintendo, as we saw with the Wii U, it's like they'd never really, even up to this point, still not really cut it too much. But at that price, at least it's reasonable, and it gives you a chance to check out, see how things are going, and then invest in it, if you want. Like, with me, I felt like, I literally did, really just get a PS4 back in November. It's just coming up on 2 months, near the, in a week or so this month. And I still have games I bought I haven't even tried out yet. I'm like, oh man, like I still need to. It's like I still feel like I haven't got a chance to just fully sit down. It's like I'll get the game now and then. So it's like I'm so occupied with that. As short as my attention span can be, sometimes I really don't need another distraction at the moment, because I feel, there'll be games like I'll want to play, but I'll end up
buying stuff, because I have got a little, kind of I wouldn't really call it a nasty habit or a bad habit of buying PS4 games, but so many are so widely available, at a good price that I go ahead and see them, snag them up if I get a deal, and I kind of got a little stack that's just, still sitting there waiting for me to play. So I'm kind of almost overwhelmed, such a bad thing. I'm overwhelmed with games right now that I haven't got a chance to play. And I mean, the Switch is going to provide, even, we know it's going to have some great games, at a point going up in through the year, and just, who knows, what will come of it, with the even more great games we'll get. So, it's not, I don't think it's going to be going anywhere. It's just going to be out there. It's just, I think it's awesome, that so many people have decided to go ahead and pre-order. I've seen a lot with people saying this is one of the first, systems, they have pre-ordered or gotten on launch day. Like, is it because it's just Nintendo? Is it the, reasonable price? Is it just the, hey, what the hell? It's just cool to see people jumping into it and supporting at least. And, like I said, there's some people that aren't, that's fine. The people that are negative, at the end of the day, it's like I said, polarizing. It's a bunch of people talking about it one way or the other.
And speaking of people talking about it, okay, here goes some of the comments. I'm going to start first with Dan Sutton. Of course I pre-ordered one. My only problem had to do with GameStop handling pre-orders. They said they would be doing everything the next day, so I go to the store, and of course the Zelda Master Edition is online only. I hate dealing with GameStop online. Their customer service is horrible, and other than I'm patiently waiting for 46 days to get this. I know a lot of people are complaining about paying online services, but whatever, no big deal. I played PlayStation 3 when it was free. PS4, you need to pay to go online, so I don't. That's simple. Could the battery life be a little better? When it's on the go, yeah, I guess, but I'm on my Samsung S7. I had the same phone, by the way, Dan. And I'm usually on this thing nonstop, and I don't think the battery lasts 2 hours. People are just a little unrealistic and selfish in nature. It's a Nintendo system, and other than the Virtual Boy, when has Nintendo really let us down? So when people say the Wii U is okay, whatever, I have every system. I mean, my family played the Wii U more than anything, and it's the only console out currently that I've played at least 10 solid games. Okay, now Richard Moore said, yep, pre-ordered. But hopefully they'll come out with some Wii U games on it. I avoided picking that system up, and I'm glad now that I did. James Crook, he says, nope, I'm waiting until at least April, since not enough launch day games interest me outside of Zelda and Bomberman. I can say get Zelda on the Wii U way cheaper. Personally, I think the console launch is a little too early, and had the console launch with Splatoon, ARMS, and Mario Kart alongside Zelda and Bomberman, it would have been a day one and would have made a pretty great launch lineup. As it is, I'm waiting until there's more games before I jump in. Kino, also known as Life Spiller, what's up, Kino? He said, I thought about it, and some places wanted the full price up front. I was like, hell no. Despite all the negative fuss, people are still going to want to see how it all turns out. Amber, she says, I went to GameStop yesterday and they said they weren't taking any more pre-orders, and I couldn't pre-order the Master Edition of Breath of the Wild online anymore either. I'm kind of pissed. John, Gaming Through the Decades, John says, I pre-ordered and I was going to wait, but Zelda is an awesome launch title, and and I want Mario Odyssey come the holidays and didn't want to run the risk of not being able to get one. This next one's from Down Phoenix, Justin. This is kind of a lengthy comment right here, but I'll read everything. He says, I pre-ordered. I didn't get a lot of complaints myself. The price for the system itself is fair. Accessories, another story entirely. So this, I didn't pre-order any. I'll wait those out. Zelda and Bomberman will be fine for launch, and Zelda is likely a Game of the Year contender, and the Switch version appears to be the best way to play it. Some of the games announced, like 1-2 Switch, look lame, and I'm surprised it's not a pack-in. I bet it will eventually decouple to get rid of overstock copies. ARMS looks fun, but pretty much needs a second set of Joy-Cons, and the game is $60, and those are $80. It looks like a mini game, so a bundle with the Joy-Cons for $100 would have been fair. Mario isn't the end of the year, so I can wait. Third party may not be as good as the others, but at least it's not the Wii U, where it's 360 ported months or years after release. Most of the third-party games at least seem to be games Nintendo players are more likely to be interested in. The storage complaints aren't that big of a deal to me. Micro SD cards are dirt cheap, cheaper than hard drives for other systems, and physical games won't waste your space. On the PS4 and Xbox One, if you have more than 10 games, your 500 gig base model, you have to delete games to make room for new ones. At least the Switch physical games, I don't have to worry too much about that, and at least we don't have major patches. He also says, I consider the battery life to be pretty good. It's a pretty powerful system, a little bit more powerful than the Wii U, and it's not meant to be running away from a power source all day long. I'm sure there will be a bumper case with a built-in battery to extend it more. Also, the portable battery packs you can plug it into. It's not rocket scientists. Anyone that complained about it never dealt with a Game Gear, Linux, or a Nomad. I do agree. I do agree with that. Freaking 6 AA batteries. Tyler Good says, no, I didn't. It does look interesting, and it might be better than the Wii U in terms of looks and the console, and hopefully it'll be have a better library than the Wii U. Now, Michael Burhan says, I'm going to wait weeks. I want to know more about the online functions and what they're going to do with their battery life. I do like the fact that they use a USB-C type deal. It means that I can use an external battery pack to charge it. Chris, BioPhoenix, says, waiting for the holidays. I got a bunch of PS4 games coming in March, so I will be very busy with those when it comes out. He sounds like he's in the same boat as you, James, with the PS4.
Yeah, it's very tough. I think I could be just, occupied with Yakuza for the rest of the year, in between Zero this month and Kiwami coming out, the remake of Part 1. I'm going to be pretty set for the year, so it's going to be hard to find time to slide everything in. So, it definitely could be worth, the wait for a little bit.
Now, Maximus says, yes, I pre-ordered, and the reason why is because I've never pre-ordered a launch day console, and I have high hopes for this one, especially with the titles I saw that are coming. Nintendo slacked on the NES Mini, so I had to jump on this before they were gone, and I have a feeling it may just happen. I had that feeling too. I mean, Nintendo was like, guys, don't worry. There's not going to be a shortage crisis with the Switch like it was with the Nintendo Mini. But then again, last couple months ago, they're like, don't worry. There'll be plenty of NES Minis to come holiday season. So you take it as a grain of salt. I mean, it's already being scalped online. It doesn't surprise me.
It's like, Nintendo, I trust you, but I kind of don't trust you. It's going a little bit of two ways. Like, I kind of trust you to put out a good product, but it's like, will the people be able to get the product? And the same day when I did hear some people talking about not being able to get a pre-order here or there, that was when my brother, he went to Best Buy and told me, he was like, yeah, I pre-ordered it. And sometimes it just took physically going to the store, to where a lot of the online reserves had gone down. If you actually went to the certain stores, you could still get one. So, we all get so used to just being able to do stuff, right from here, from your home or wherever you're at on your phone, and suddenly you can't. You have to go somewhere. It's just a little bit of a extra hassle nowadays to people, in a sense. We used to always have to go to the store, midnight releases on CDs and stuff. Now, dude, I got a rental car right now because mine's in the shop from that deer I hit. It doesn't even have a CD player in it.
Is that crazy?
I'm like, and my wife's she's like, yeah, that's a little bit more common now. I'm like, not even a CD player? I'm like, I know they're kind of phasing out a bit, but records are even coming back more for the collectability and stuff. The sound quality, which is really cool. But I'm like, not even a CD player in the car? It's just kind of, maybe I'm old, but that's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo to me right now is it's like a good friend you have that's kind of shady, that you kind of second guess, like, yeah, dude, I'll pay you next Friday. Don't worry, I'll pay you next Friday. And you're kind of like, I don't know if they're actually going to pay me or not. The money they owed me for the sub I bought them last week when they said they were broke. So it is what it is. I told people months ago, I'm like, if you want the Switch, go ahead and pre-order it ASAP. Right now, as of now, all the GameStops are no longer taking pre-orders. It's over and done with. Now, one of my friends that works at Walmart told me they were still taking pre-orders there. Many people don't even know that Walmart's taking pre-orders. So if you're listening to this podcast and you still haven't pre-ordered, take your chance, go to Walmart. I know some people don't like going to Walmart, but just suck it up. Go in there and see if you can pre-order it, because I think Best Buy and GameStop's the well is dry right now. There's no water for that. So
yeah, and I know they did have the different options of the some of the different sets. Where the a lot of the ones with just the systems sold out a bit quicker, to where maybe you have to get a bundle set. It could just depend, but like you said, it's worth it to go out and sometimes check with some other places. You might not want to go there, physically go to the stores and check out, if it's something you really want to get. It's, I think worth venturing out. And, while you're at some of these stores, you might actually walk around and buy something in a store too, which is still pretty cool.
You might find an NES Mini.
Which might finally show up.
Yeah, which I do have to say, before I segue to another topic, the NES Mini has been hacked. There's ways that people now can put as many as 96 NES games on the NES Mini. So with that being said, and now that it's become like big news, the first time I saw it online was Sean Long, RGT85, actually made a video on it, and it went viral. And now that Nintendo probably knows that, I don't know if we'll get NES Minis now. I'd be very surprised if we get any more NES Minis. So it's officially maybe a rare item now.
They're done now. Just forget that it ever even happened. I've got some friends that are like, I heard about this coming out, but I've still never seen one. It's like I'm starting to think just the whole thing was a lie.
Yeah.
I was like, you might be more likely to catch a Bigfoot,
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the things that, of course, makes the Switch a buy or wait, of course, is the launch. They do have some games that are launching for, of course, Zelda Breath of the Wild, which has also come out for the Wii U the same day. Also, some of the games like 2-in-1, which is like a mini game where you don't look at the screen. It's more like you look at the other player in the eyes, and you're both holding like the Joy-Cons, and you just do stuff like quick draw and stuff like that. Seems like a really good party game, in my opinion. Is it a $60 game? No, it should have been a packing game. But they had that. Arms, which is kind of like Punch-Out meets Stretch Armstrong. And I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Bomberman. I think that was the biggest surprise. We're actually getting a new Bomberman retro style on the Nintendo Switch. And of course, it's not a packing game. It's going to be it looks like it's either going to be $40 or $60 retail.
That's one that, how they mentioned, with the multiplayer capability, it makes me think back, with the different, with the handheld screens and everything, how, a bunch of people could set them all up. Kind of makes me think of the old Saturn Bomberman, with up to 8 people. And if you got a lot of people that have a Switch and everybody can set up their screen, it makes me think of that. And that's one that's still a pretty popular game for the Saturn one that, people like to get. They just had that crazy, back then you didn't get too many games that had, up to like 8 people or so that were able to play. It was just kind of crazy. And I think that game is cool because, like I said, it fits in. When I think of that initial commercial we saw, with the people, I think they were playing, they played basketball, and then they set up their Switches and played more basketball. And, now maybe you can play basketball and then sit down and play some Bomberman with a bunch of people, which I think is just, that one's just a pretty cool title. And I think, like, with the Zelda, it's definitely, you can't go wrong having a Zelda at launch, because and with the fact it's coming on the Wii U, me and you will get a chance to get that and play that game. It might not look as pretty, but we still get to play it. And a lot of people that didn't have a Wii U, they get to play it. This one, I think way more people had a GameCube, than people have a Wii U. I don't know the numbers. I'm just guessing. But, that one was a little bit, different when the Zelda game came out on both of those, whereas I think way less people have a Wii U. So, it doesn't really seem like, it's just that game's being ported over to this and that. To me, it's a little bit of a different situation. I'm just glad that, we'll still get to get that, try that, having the Wii U. Because I know that's one I'm definitely gonna, pick up and get. And it's nice to know that I'll still be able to play that. And the people that do have a Wii U, you might feel a little abandoned along the way, because there just hasn't been, and there's still been, good games coming out on it, but maybe you just feel kind of left in the dust if you have one. It's kind of a nice comfort, at least something with Nintendo that is still coming out, and the people that invested in a Wii U still get a chance to play what is going to be, an awesome game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad I'm still gonna be able to play it. And I looked at the screen by screen, and other than like a color filter and the draw distance is a little bit different, it's, to me, I'm gonna have just as much fun playing it on the Wii U. Now the last game I want to talk about that's gonna be launching with the Switch, because I don't really care to talk about Just Dance. I mean, that doesn't really interest me.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Really, we don't care about that. Sorry. If you like it, power to you, but we don't care.
But yeah, I mean, the next one I want to talk about was Street Fighter 2 Ultra, which was really interesting. Now, I figured that we were going to be getting some sort of fighting game on the Switch, because they did leak third-party Hori controllers, and one of the Hori controllers is an actual arcade stick. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh man, the Switch has an arcade stick. We have to be getting a fighter. And what better fighter to get than Street Fighter 2? Now, I know everyone's talking that, Street Fighter 2 has been redone so many times. There's so many ports of Street Fighter 2. What makes this any more special? What makes me want to go out and get Street Fighter 2 Ultra? Mine is going to be online co-op. It's going to have a tag mode that you can actually switch characters like Tekken Tag, but it can be online, and I think that's awesome. Like me and you, James, me and you could like play online on the Switch, and you and I could like be tag team champions on Street Fighter, and that is freaking awesome. I'm thinking about the possibility of tournaments, because you can link all these Switches and have all these LAN parties. That falls really well with Bomberman, but it also falls really well with Street Fighter. I mean, you can go to a convention and you just see all these Switches and all these people having these tag team matches in Street Fighter 2 Ultra. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with that. I mean, it's one of the greatest games. I said one time too, I was like, maybe I would preferred a little bit more of a alpha, type game incorporated into it. But with what it is, I mean, come on, Angry Ken, right? That's great.
I mean, you were laughing about that so much. Like, I have Angry Ken, slightly disappointed Ken.
I really did think he was called Angry Ken for a bit, and that's like I realized it was Violent Ken, but he's gonna be Angry Ken to me. But a great one, like you said, the co-op. I think it's gonna end up being really cool. Hopefully that one comes out at a somewhat of a little bit more of a bargain price. I think would make that like if say for instance if that was like a $40 game, and I think that could be a total win there. I mean, you never know what extra options are going to be thrown in. Just a classic fighting game, and the reason it's been put out with so many different versions is because it's just that good. It's that classic, and it was a kind of a nice little throwback to see. It has its was it the 30th anniversary?
Yeah.
Is that right? Is it 30th anniversary of Street Fighter or just Street? It can't be Street Fighter 2, is it?
I mean, I think the series itself is like 30 years old.
Yeah, it's gotta be because I was like, that makes sense. Because like I'm 38, like no way Street Fighter 2 came out when I was 8 years old. Part 1, okay, 30th anniversary of Street Fighter, and bringing in that, and nobody cares about Street Fighter 1. It's like Just Dance. Like we don't care. It sucks. But Street Fighter 2 just changed everything. It just reignited it. I mean, not reignited, it just completely lit the spark of the fighting genre game. And yeah, I'm just looking, forward to everything. Street Fighter's just always going to be great, and I think that is the cool way. If you can get past the initial, just Street Fighter 2 again, and just think about it for a minute. I think it's a really cool throwback game that they can put, a modern twist with the online stuff to it, and could turn out to be, way more fun than people think it could be. If you just don't look too hard into it. Sometimes you just gotta take things for what they are and just accept the funness. Try not to be so judgmental and angry about it. And if you want to be judgmental and angry, that's okay too. But,
you can be like Ken.
Why not take it? You could be like angry Ken, but you should be more like content Ryu, and just check it out, give it a chance.
It's better than like slightly thirsty Dazium. He just wants some water.
Parched.
Yes. But overall, I'm excited about the Switch. Now, before we get into games we've been playing recently, I did want to mention some launch titles for previous consoles that I thought was really interesting. I have to say that one of my favorite launch consoles I feel like had such a solid lineup, of course, was the Sega Dreamcast. Now, I'm going to be reading off the US launch. Of course, it was released on the September 9th, 1999, $99.99. We had games like Aero Wings, freaking Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL Blitz 2000, Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur. Many more, but wow. Like, those games right there would make a compilation of best Sega Dreamcast games.
It's just
easily.
That's a rarity as far as, launches. Because, so many people do mention when people complain about the launch, it's like, do you remember this one? Do you remember that one? Even PS4. But, so many people will, throw that out there. It's like, typically launches can be not that great. To me, like I said, we're just having Zelda as a launch is a win.
Think of the N64, okay? I went over Dreamcast, which was like, all those were just like, holy crap. The US launch for Nintendo 64 was Pilot Wing 64 and Super Mario 64. Now, granted, Super Mario 64 was like a must-have. That was like the hot item and everyone was ready for it. But those were just two games. Two games for a console that came at the time with one controller, which was unheard of back then. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think the N64 to begin with came with a launch game. Am I wrong about that? Did it come with Super Mario 64?
No, it hit that. The PlayStation was the one, that initiated that. Pretty much everything PlayStation, Saturn. I don't know. Saturn probably might even had the. It might have. I don't even know if that was later. They had that multi-pack, disc that had like Virtua Fighter and Virtua Cop. We'll say for sure, at least PlayStation ones that really kickstarted that one controller, no game, garbage. As much as we love you, Sony, you started that. When I finally got my 64, it actually came with two. And you're right, that was a bonus. It was like the Atomic Purple, and it had a gray one, but no game with it. That stuff ended. It's immediate. You got to buy a system if you want an extra controller, $50. Game, $50. You could at least throw in a game and maybe do $30 extra. I could feel a little bit better, but no, that pretty much ended then, like you said. And you're stuck with Mario and Pilot Wings. Nobody cares about Pilot Wings.
No. Now the let's see. I think this is the PlayStation. Now here's the U.S. Launch for the Sony PlayStation. You had Battle Area to Shinen, which we need another Battle Arena to Shinen. We need that bad. NBA
I don't think
Jam.
we do. I don't know.
maybe I'm just looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but I really like that game. But maybe it's because
the one hand I would say, if I would mark out a little bit, I think if a new Toshinden came out, just because it's one, I don't know, I just remember like spinning around a lot and hitting people. It's one, I think it got you kind of think I think of Toshinden as like a weapon-based game when you have your ones like your Soul Calibers, which just totally kind of knocked it out. Like maybe if Toshinden could team up. I don't even know what company did that one. Maybe they get some kind of like team up. I'm sure there's some memorable characters. There's sure some people that have everybody's got that one fighter, whether it could be like good or bad or just like a one-off that maybe not everybody likes but you like. Every fighter I think has got a place in somebody's heart.
Yeah, I just looked it up on Wikipedia. It was developed by Tamsoft and Dream Factory, and it said that Soul Edge, which was before Soul Calibur, was kind of like the spiritual successor to it. But dude, imagine like a Soul Calibur Toshinden game. Holy crap, dude! That would just be day one buy for me. That would be awesome. Now, the rest of the launch titles, of course, was the Raiden Project, which is a really fun shooter. NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Rayman, Ridge Racer, and Street Fighter the movie. Oh man, Street Fighter the movie.
That's one, and that's one of those fighters. Me, like I don't hate. I mean,
I don't either.
Sucks,
a lot of people hate,
but it's kind of it looks like Mortal Kombat, but it plays like Street Fighter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know a lot of people like they see it and they're just like, oh, Street Fighter the movie. And I'm the same way, James. I'm like, dude, it's like Mortal Kombat meets Street Fighter. I have it on the Saturn, and I love playing it. It's fun. It's no Street Fighter Alpha 2, but still,
It's not even just Street Fighter 2, even though it's kind of Street Fighter 2, the movie, or whatever it was. But it's, if you give it a chance, it's sometimes, if you're one of those ones that's always listened, to people that talk about, how bad it is, or people that clown on it, we're saying, it's not great, but both me and you enjoy it. We are Street Fighter fans. We're telling you straight up, like, it's no Street Fighter 2, but if you have played Street Fighter 2 and like it, all the moves still the same. It just feels a little bit off, and maybe I think it's just this Mortal Kombat looking guys in the game. But other than that, the move-sets are the same. If you played with Ken, you played with Guile, the move-sets still work, and I think it's worth giving a chance to, because it's not like it's a rare, expensive game.
And you know what, the thing I remember most, and I can't remember the character's name, but there's a guy in the game that doesn't appear in the movie. He only appears in the game. And I can't remember his name, but it's like you see it and you can just tell, like, maybe he was like one of the developer's nephews or something like that. It's like, hey, do you want to go in a fighting game? Or like maybe he was like,
there was a guy on there. I don't know if there's a different one too. It seems like there was a guy, unless it was one that was originally planned to be in the movie and then he wasn't. I want to say his name starts with an S, kind of like a bald guy.
Yeah.
That's it's not, and I'm not thinking of like Sagat, but there's somebody else. It's some type of like a Thai sounding name, and he was like an actor, and like they either put the actor in the game. It was just some kind of like weird situation with it. He wasn't a normal. He was like an extra character that had never been in a Street Fighter game. So they did give you that little bit of a kind of little extra add-on along with your normal
his name was Captain Sawada. That's who it was.
I see. I said, what was it with an S?
Yeah, you were right. It started with an S. I mean, he's a captain, but his name's with an S.
Yeah.
There you go.
See, I nailed it. Prophetic powers.
Hey, I mean, it's been a long time since I've played it, but I do remember enjoying it. Now the 3DO. Guess how many launch games were for the 3DO? 1.
Oh Jesus, Gex.
Dude, you're gonna laugh at this. The only launch title the 3DO had in the US was a game called Crash and Burn. How ironic. I think that was a racing game.
Prophetic powers.
Yeah, I think that was a racing game, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow,
Yeah.
it didn't even have Gex. Man.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think of when I think of 3DO. I think of Gex.
Yeah.
And I have one of those, and I don't have Gex.
Okay, and let's see. Philips CDI. I'll go ahead and talk about that one since we talked about 3DO. You had Battleship Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
Connect 4, Dark Castle, which Dark Castle is actually a good game.
Connect 4.
Defender of the Crown, and Pack Panic was another one of them. So I think that was like a Pac-Man game, maybe.
Sounds like it. I love Defender of the Crown on NES. Kind of curious how that would be on the. That's one I think I would probably still have fun with, even on the CDI. That was just kind of a cool one.
And the last launch I'm going to talk about before we go into games we've been playing recently is the Sega Saturn had Clockwork Knight, Daytona. I just had to put that in there so the song gets stuck in your head. Panzer Dragoon, Virtual Fighter, and Worldwide Soccer Sega International Victory Goal Edition. The one that really sticks out in my head is Clockwork Knight, Panzer Dragoon, Virtual Fighter, Daytona. Good solid lineup right there. Those are good games.
That was not bad at all.
And considering that, I mean, if people want to talk about the Switch being like, oh, this launch and blah, 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 if you want to think of a really bad launch, just look at the Sega Saturn. I mean, the Sega Saturn came out so early, retailers didn't even know about it. That was a disaster.
Yeah, talking about something like, coming out quicker than expected or thrown out too soon. It was just like, yep, here, this is available right now. It's like, it is? I'm like, oh, thanks for telling us, Sega.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, launch titles started out all the way at the second generation of gaming when you had the Atari 2600 and then Intellivision, ColecoVision, and Atari 5200. That's when these launch titles started coming out. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I always say, though, don't judge a console by the launch lineup because, I mean, looking at some of these titles, you got the Dreamcast, which was just, a ballpark, and then you saw what happened to Dreamcast. It ended up, dying, sadly. And then you look at, N64 that had Pilot Wings and Mario 64, and, N64 did really well. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's like if you can at least, get a couple winners in that launch, you're kind like I said earlier, you're kind of a winner. It's a win-win situation if you can get at least, just a couple or even sometimes just one, really good game that's worth it. And in that time, you'll be playing that before you know it, other stuff will be coming out. And, like we all know, like, it takes a bit. And then sometimes you even got to look till, whether it's towards the holiday or even into the next year, but along the way, at least you'll be hearing about it. Constantly updated. Whether there's still online updates, and information is so fast. Before you know it, you'll be hearing about all the next new awesome games. And I will say too, one thing I liked about the Switch, and I don't know if this did it to you like it did me when I saw the red and blue on the Switch. It made me think of the headphones on the original Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had the little blue and red, very little, small little tips on the end of the little earbud thing. And it's just immediately when I saw that red and blue, like that was my thought. And as little as that was, and I don't know if that was a throwback to that, probably not. But I'm sure that's a thought that crossed a lot of people's minds. And it was still just kind of cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we close the show, we are going to be ending it with games we've been playing recently. I'm going to let you start off, James. What have you been playing?
I went out, and like I said, I'm always seem to be picking up some PS4 games, and decided to. I went into GameStop, and I kind of like it because sometimes, like, if they're not busy, they get their little tablet, and they're like, "What's your phone number?" They look up your account, and they tell you like your coupons and crap you have. And that was the day I went. I used a couple coupons, had to do a couple separate orders, but got like, I don't remember, it was 4 or 5 games I got for like $50. It was like I saved like $50. I had like a $25 off one item coupon, and just buy 2 get 1 free and all this stuff. And I picked up Street Fighter 5, which I got for pretty much it might have been like 30 new. Maybe I paid like $5 for it. just been kind of curious, wanted to check it out. Which I heard too, I was having fun playing through and doing the little story modes, and from what I hear, like initially some of the story modes weren't even with the game, because I went through it. They're very short. It was still fun, but you go through about maybe 4 fights at the most, and then you get the little ending. But I guess that was just a little bonus thing that they added on. Still had a lot of fun playing it. Kind of been on a little bit of a Street Fighter kick. I told you I had checked out the Street Fighter Assassin's Fist.
Oh yeah, so good. I
guess
love that movie.
I guess it was like a TV series, yeah, and then they kind of having like a movie. It's like a 2.5 hour movie, or either combined series, however you want to look at it, all focused on pretty much Ken and Ryu and Goken and Akuma, or whatever his name is in that show. It's not Akuma, it's something else, but it's just a really cool look into that, especially if you're like you like the mythos with the Ken and Ryu and them. It pretty much focuses only on them. I'd like to see more of it on some of the other characters, because I'd always been a big fan of pretty much all of the whether it's Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, any of the Alpha ones. So many of the animated ones like I've really enjoyed, and this was actually cool to see a live action one
done right.
I thought it held up, and when I tell people about it, I say at some points like it looks a little cheesy, but in a good way. And the only way I mean that is because it's like you got a dude in like a red gi, which is just, it's kind of cheesy looking. Like if you see somebody in a red gi, the Akuma guy, he looks like Akuma, and if you picture Akuma in real life, like he might be a little cheesy looking. And I don't mean that as a knock. I thought it was really cool. It's just like it kind of took on the game. I like the guys that played everybody. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it's 2.5 hours. Like that's kind of long for just pretty much a Ken and Ryu story. But it managed to hold my attention. I really, really liked it.
Now, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I'm trying to remember. I think there was like an actual like street fighting scene, like a Fight Club kind of scene. And
yes.
Now, okay, when that happened, is it just me, or were you expecting to see Guile in that scene?
I don't know if it would have been Guile. I was kind of thinking maybe like just I would have seen somebody I kind of recognized, because I think maybe by the time that happened, I was pretty, I was kind of like, well, I guess this is just Ken and Ryu. I thought with the length it was that there really would be a little bit more branching out into some other characters, but it just didn't happen. But like when you get to that fight scene, it does kind of seem like somebody, whether it's Guile or that somebody else would pop up there, but it just it just didn't happen. But there's something with it, and I think this is I don't know if it was like a YouTube series initially. It kind of goes along with that, the Mortal Kombat one that was done on there, where I think they're both they're kind of different, but at the same time they're both really cool for like a series that was done, with, like I said, YouTube, either at episodic format initially, and then you can kind of combine them together to make a little bit more of a movie. Both, two beloved franchises that Street Fighter had always kind of managed to stay around in an anime form at least, whereas like Mortal Kombat, after Mortal Kombat 2, it had a TV show, horrible cartoon, so many bad things, and to come out with that, what was it? I don't know if it was Mortal Kombat Legacy. I think that was the name of it, but and I mean, it was amazing, and it was just like, man, like where did that go? And it's like I still haven't seen any more, so like I would love to see more of that. Definitely more of the Street Fighter. Whoever put this project together, I would love to see them definitely continue that. I mean, even if it's a continuation of Ryu and Ken, I'll take more of that, or if they could branch out into some of the Guile or Chun-Li story, or whichever way, it just could be really awesome. But definitely a little bit of a Street Fighter kick, and after seeing that, it was kind of cool to see the Street Fighter 2 Ultra. Played a little bit. I got to download game on PSN called Layers of Fear. I looked it up. I had finished Until Dawn recently, and sometimes you find a game you like and you just look up games similar to this. And Layers of Fear it's not like Until Dawn at all. Is another one of those kind of first-person horror games, but it's based on an artist who ends up going crazy. He's just kind of walking around a house, and you're digging through drawers and doing your typical stuff. And at certain points, things just get a little weird. You have lots of paintings being an artist, and sometimes they just kind of melt away, and you get creepy faces. Certain things will just fall. It's definitely got the jumps. I was really enjoying it. There's two different versions. There's your normal one, which I think is maybe like 20, and there's like a little bit of some add-on content. You get like the full version for like $23. But it was one that it looked cool. I thought I'd try it out. Like I said, so any of the other, if you like that kind of first-person horror style game, that's a really cool one. Definitely planning on. I got the next couple days off, and I really think I'm gonna go ahead and finish up Yakuza 5. I kind of just been hanging on to that one for a little bit, but Zero is coming out very, very soon. This is I think it's the 24th. It's the same day as Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
So I'll be getting that, and I'd really, I feel like I could play it, since it is a prequel, I could play it without beating 5, but I think it's time. I need to go ahead and finish 5 up and knock it out the way so I can go ahead and jump in to 0. Really looking forward to that one. That's just going to be, really fun. And like I said, I've got, what else was I playing? Because I went and got a stack. I got Doom. Haven't played it yet. I got a Rayman. And you mentioned that one of the launch titles for one of the systems, and I picked up one of those. I hadn't played Rayman in a very long time, and it seems to be a title that doesn't really kind of, what's the word, lessen in value. It's some of the titles you might can find for cheaper, but a lot of them, whether it was like Wii U, it's one of those ones that kind of, holds a little bit of its value. And I'd heard really good things about it, wanted to try it out. So picked it up. Still hadn't tried it yet, but it's in my stack sitting there to the side. Like I said, finished Until Dawn. Man, that was great. Do you remember how many people you had left at the end when you played it?
I think I had like 3 or 4. I think.
Yeah, I had 3, and it's when I got done playing, I was like, man, I definitely, it does have that replay value, and I heard there's an ending where like everybody can live, and that was just a really great game, and trying to think, there's probably something else. I played a little bit more of the stories, like I mentioned, very Zelda type game with different endings. That one's been really fun. And let's see, played the Street Fighter, and man, I'm trying. I need to play more games than I have played. It's a really good struggle to have.
It is. Now, yeah, you said you were trying. I can only mention probably about 2 games myself. One of them, of course, is the one I mentioned last week, and that's Dragon Quest Builders. Me and Jamie are halfway done with Chapter 3. There's only 4 chapters in the game, and I hear the 4th chapter is really short. It's pretty much gear up the battle the Dragon Lord. So we're kind of like trying to relish a little bit of Chapter 3, kind of taking our time with it, but at the same time, it's getting to that point where I'm like, I just want to go ahead and beat this game. There's some games that you play that it doesn't bother you if you beat them. You're just like, I just enjoy the experience. Some people, they have to complete everything, but there's some games I play that if I don't beat, it's not a big deal. It's just kind of like, yeah, I got my fix. Where Dragon Quest Builders is the game that I have to beat this game. Because it's been so much fun. Very seldom do I sit there and play a game for like 12 hours straight. Like me and Jamie would spend a whole Saturday playing nothing but Dragon Quest builders. So I've been playing that, and I went back and started playing a little bit of Chrono Trigger, of all games. I started playing a little bit of Chrono Trigger on my phone. I had a Super Nintendo emulator, and then we had a really slow day at work, so I just pulled out my phone and started playing Chrono Trigger. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That is a game I've beat.
Yeah, that one was always. That's one I never finished. Chrono Trigger. It was so good. It's one of those, and I don't play the most RPGs nowadays, but that's one of the ones I would go back and check out. And I mean, as you mentioned, the Dragon Quest builders, I've been halfway considering that one myself too. Just because I might not hear the way you're talking about it, it just sounds like it would just be fun.
It's a relaxing game in the sense that, like, did you ever play Dark Cloud on the PS2?
But I played a little bit. I saw one of my nephews playing it some. It's one I don't think I ever actually physically got involved with it myself and played it for an extended period.
Because I mean, a lot of people compare Dragon Quest builders to Minecraft. And of course, that's a little bit the way they've been marketing it because Minecraft is so popular. But to be honest, and a lot of people, when I mention it, they're like, "You're so right." And because Dark Cloud's kind of an old game, that they don't compare it to that. But Dragon Quest Builders is a lot like Dark Cloud in the sense that you have your fetch quest, and you do things to go back and build the towns, and you're getting materials kind of like Minecraft. So it's like if Minecraft and Dark Cloud bumped uglies and Dragon Quest was watching, that would be Dragon Quest Builders. That was horrible.
Getting a little creepy.
You just pictured the slime sitting there smiling. But no, like but I mean, that's all I've been really playing. I mean, me and Jamie, we started watching that Lemony Snicket's Unfortunate Events on Netflix, and we're almost done with that. And I'm kind of happy. I love the show. It's really good. Neil Patrick Harris does a great job of Count Orloff. I do recommend that, but it's one of those things like I'm ready for us to end that series so we can just go back playing Dragon Quest Builders, because it's one of those games that we have to play together. Like I can't play the game by myself. Like it's a game that we started together and we have to beat it together. So yeah.
Once some things are like that, you could start some for a bit. It's like me, like with like when I'm watching like Gotham, and like now it's like I don't watch new Gotham until Liz is home, and it's like we'll sit there and watch it. She started getting into it, I'm trying to get her to watch more like the older ones, but that's how it gets you getting in relationships. Sometimes there's certain things like when you start something or do something together, like you got to learn to hold off, and then you got to share it. You can't take it in for yourself, or sometimes either you don't enjoy it as much.
That's true.
But with the series, I've been meaning to check out the Lemony Snickets. I've been watching Miami Vice, going back to that
nice
old 80s.
Push
back.
it to the limit. I mean, that's Scarface, but still, it's Miami. But
it's so great. Like you see so many like old actors and bands, like Suicidal Tendencies is on like one episode. Like it's pretty nuts. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm speaking of old 80s like movies like that. One of the movies that I'm gonna get Jamie to watch is Miami Connection. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have to watch this. We're gonna have to watch this and enjoy the music of Dragon Sound.
So good.
So good. But yeah, guys, this is going to conclude another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. And yeah, we're getting closer and closer to episode 100. We got one more episode before episode 100. And I'm trying to plan something special for that. If we can't come up with anything too special, we'll just do the most special thing of all and just bring Burhand on. He always celebrates with us. We love you, Burhan. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening. If you're listening to us on Podomatic, don't forget to check out Xsgaming Podcast on iTunes. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. It helps the show gain new viewers or listeners. And speaking of viewing, I do have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Xander Skullion, where you guys can listen to the backlog of the Xsgaming Podcast, and you can also watch other videos like pickup videos, let's plays, me and my girlfriend Jamie. Me and my Jamie. Wow. Me and my girlfriend have been doing a couple of let's plays, and one that we're going to do very soon is going to be Windjammers, Neo Geo game. She's never played it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be our first let's play where we're actually competing and not being co-op in the beat 'em ups like we have in the last couple ones. But yes, check that out, youtube.com/Xander Skullion. As always, guys, thanks for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.
Can't get enough of Xsgaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on podomag.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.